So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our our event, monthly event called Leaving a Legacy. It is a collaboration of the Social Equity Task Force and the Finance Committee. And we talk monthly to folks about what leaving a legacy is to them, what it is to them in their profession, in their specialization, in their expertise. So we've done this now for maybe 6 months, I believe. We had some very, very great speakers, and today is no different. Just a quick message about the Social Equity Task Force. It was created in the summer of 2020. It became a national committee of Keller Williams Realty International after the murder of George Floyd. We decided that something needed to be done in our company to address diversity and some of the issues that kind of popped up after that murder happened on live TV. So we have a national platform, we have regional social equity task force, and then we have local. I am currently the chair of the local social equity task force in the Keller Williams mainline office. And I will say that Amber, who's speaking today, happens to also be on the wealth building committee of the regional social equity task force. So we're kind of getting a double dip from her today. So again, thank you. We hope that you'll join us every first Wednesday at 1 p.m. for Leaving a Legacy. And I'm going to pass it over to Sean.
Hey, everybody, Sean Elstone. And today we have the gracious presence of Amber Noble. And Amber, I actually learned a lot about you before that. Like, I had to look things up because I knew that there was more to you than just being broker, realtor, and investor. Didn't know, I don't hold it against me. I didn't realize that you were also an author. So without further, entrepreneur, mother, friend, if you could, give us a little bit more about you. We would love it and appreciate it.
Well, first of all, thank you, Kimberly and Sean, for having me here. It's an honor. It's an honor to represent the diversity, equity, can't forget the equity and inclusion committee of the ALC for KW Philly, of which I am the chair, and we'll be adding a co-chair very, very soon. We just had our first meeting and looking forward to our second. And as Kimberly mentioned, I'm also the regional chair of the wealth building subcommittee for the Greater PA Regional Social Equity Task Force. I'm also the co-leader of the National Wealth Building Committee for the Social Equity Task Force. So I got a whole lot of social equity, diversity, and inclusion going on. With that being said, kind of as you mentioned, Sean, that's pretty much, sums up my life. I was married for a number of years and well over a decade, and I am transitioning personally. I'm a mom to an amazing little girl named Leah, who will be 10 soon. I'm a very proud autism mom, and have a big place in my heart for those who have special needs and learn differently. Being the New Jersey broker is something that I take a lot of pride in because I love helping people and sharing and coming from contribution. I'm an agent in production first and foremost. I never let people forget that. Licensed in PA and Jersey, but I've done some other things in my life, in my career. I've been fortunate. I co-authored a few books, and I'm a speaker. I've spoken, professionally and not professionally. I love to share. I love to see people become the best version of themselves and kind of sit in the background and just watch them shine. I love being a connector, and a lot of what I do, I don't really put out into the forefront because I just want to do it and just see people excel. But that's it. I'm a Temple grad, a proud Temple grad. I worked in radio, television, and the music industry, entertainment industry for over 20 years, and climbed my way up the ranks from intern to being a marketing promotion director at one of the large radio stations here in the Philadelphia area. One of the biggest actually hip hop and R&B stations in the country. That's actually where I met Noah Ostroff, who's part of our great leadership staff. And Noah interned with me and then worked with me at the radio station. And now there's Noah, so making us all proud. So I've done a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things, but I'm just Amber at the end of the day, pretty much.
Sounds like Amber with 1,000 hats.
Yeah, I'm trying to make them 999. I would like to remove.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you do it all?
That's a very good question. How do I do it all? Prioritization, preparation, learning, as I continue to mature and just see life and see the world and experience so many different things. I'm just appreciating more and more just about how key preparation is, really showing up prepared, finding balance, learning how to say no. You have to prioritize the priorities that you prioritized. Streamlining, outsourcing. I'm really okay with not being the person to do everything. I have somewhat of I say I have a type A through Z personality because I know how to deal with a lot of different personalities. And I'm pretty consistent, I think, but I also know how to adapt to change really well. And so as COVID has taught us, amongst other things, just really being flexible has helped me balance it all. And, you never really do it all. And you got to forgive yourself when you can't get things accomplished. I used to really beat myself up a lot. I'm really hard on myself. I don't compete with anybody but me. And, I would really be upset if I couldn't get things done. And I'm just, as I grow, I just learned it's okay. It's okay. Like if it's not curing cancer, if it's not saving the world from, childhood hunger, it can go to the next day or even the next week. So that is how I do it all. And I'm also learning to let go. Sometimes that's really hard to do personally and professionally in life, is for us to just be okay with letting go of things. And not being a perfectionist and not overanalyzing everything. And the more that I commit to those things, the more I can do more, help more people, be a better friend, be a better mom, and be better to myself.
So, keeping with the same idea of you wearing so many hats and doing so many things, but still obviously starting to let go. Is that leverage pieces? Is it like a virtual assistant? Do you have 40 virtual assistants? Because you should probably have 40 virtual assistants, it sounds like. Like, how do you do it all?
So I know in KW, like we like to use the word leverage interchangeably with people, which kind of creeps me out sometimes, although I get what we're trying to say. Leverage to me is upper hand, right? So how do you give yourself the upper hand, whether it's the upper hand in business, the upper hand in life? How do you give yourself a reprieve so that you can either do less or do more? I don't, at this time, to be very transparent, I don't have the kind of leverage that I want to be able to scale in business. And sometimes I look at myself and I look at, my production, or I look at the balls I'm juggling. I'm like, how am I doing all this without breaking down? So I've had assistants, but I've never actually, and I've been an executive assistant to a president CEO over $500 million company. But I'm looking forward to instituting and implementing, having more leverage going forward, because I want to set up anything I'm leading for the next leader, right? I don't need my name attached to things forever. I'm very mission focused. And so whatever I do, it has to have purpose. It has to be purpose driven. It can't just edify me. It has to be something that's going to make, people's lives substantially better. And so I am looking to add leverage so that I can set up whoever the next leader is going to be so they can take the torch and carry it. Occasionally, I do outsource things to virtual assistants. One assistant I had, I actually hired her back and paid her a retainer just to help me with social equity stuff, because I realized I'm like 3 social equity people in one, and it was exciting but becoming overwhelming at the same time. And so her time with me, has expired, and now she's moved on. She's actually the executive assistant to one of the biggest entrepreneurs probably in the country right now. And she owns a franchise called Slutty Vegan in Atlanta. So if you're ever in Atlanta, she's on the cover of Essence magazine. Her name is Pinky Cole. And
Yes.
she's a Black woman. She's making real Black history. She's making history, period. And she and her life partner, Dave, owns Big Dave Cheesesteaks. He's from Philly. He moved down to Atlanta too. So these 2 multimillionaires have 2 of the biggest businesses in the country right now, and they just so happen to be of Black heritage. Well, Pinky has my former executive assistant, and I'm so proud of her because that's what you want, right? You want to help people grow into their best selves, allow them to contribute, and then if you really care, you let them fly.
So so kind of piggybacking on that, what is your definition of leaving a legacy?
That's a great question. So leaving a legacy to me is like footprints in the sand. It is, everyone that comes after me being in a better position to excel and move forward. Wherever I left off at. So wherever I left off at, anybody that comes after me, I need you to do better, to be better than I was. And I need you to pay it forward. Like, don't just be self-consumed. Don't just be worried about the now. Think about those, just like our ancestors thought about us before I was ever here, Kimberly, or before you were ever here, right? The Harriets Tubmans, the Sojourner Truths, these women and the Frederick Douglass, they seem so far removed, right? 300-400 years ago, but it really isn't, because everything that they did set us up to be one step closer to true freedom and true equity and true equality. So I need anybody in my bloodline, and I need anybody that I touch who is of Black heritage like myself, to ensure that my work was not in vain, not to put me on a pedestal, but to create a step stool for everybody that comes after me. And then everybody comes after them. And I literally want them to be intentional about it. Like, don't be accidental. Don't, oh, when I get around to it, because it's their responsibility too. And at some point, I really want the world to be a level playing field. I want there to come a time when we don't have to have a social equity task force. I want there to come a time when it's normalized to see Black and brown faces in high places, as I like to say. Not like, oh my God, there's a Black person. Oh my God, they're really smart. And they got a big title, right? And I don't just mean from people who aren't Black looking at it like that. I want people who are Black heritage to look at themselves and say, I belong there because I saw Kimberly there. And when I see her, I see me. And when I see Amber, I see me. And when I see Pinky Cole on the cover of Essence magazine, which is like the Bible for Black women, right? I see me. I don't want it to be like a big deal or kind of like abnormal to see somebody that you're not used to seeing. I really want everybody to have that true equality. And that's to me what leaving a legacy is about, Kimberly. That's the extended version.
I love it. So I don't want to leave that topic whatsoever. So, because it is Black History Month, and I feel the same exact way as far as I want us to be as quickly as possible, and I'd love it to be today or tomorrow, where there's not a need for Black History Month because Black history is neglected in normal everyday education. Like when I was young, BET was established, and I was like, that was my jam. But at the same time, I'm realizing, I'm like, because MTV was not equitable. So like, there's a lot that I'm hearing you say that I'm going back over time and thinking, like, I've seen all this stuff play out. And so in the world that is equitable, say we get there tomorrow.
When we get there, we're getting there.
I think that we are.
Yes.
I would like to think that we are.
We are.
On that day, this is just ad-libbing and playing off of what you're saying.
Yep.
But I hope that there's still Black History Month, personally. Do you think that there would then be a need for Black History Month? Do you think that, like, BET doesn't disappear because the world is equitable? Right?
So let me say this to you, Sean. That's a great question that you just posed, and I'm glad you did.
And if I'm coming from ignorance, please,
no,
forgive me.
Listen, you are exactly the prototype of the type of person I need to ask. I need to ask this question so that I can answer it for you, in my opinion. So, first of all, in case anybody doesn't know, and if you already know this, forgive me for regurgitating, but I'm gonna tell you real quick. Black History Month started as Negro History Week in 1926. It was reimagined in 1976, right? Because the folks behind it, their birthdays were in the month of February. So it wasn't this conspiracy to give Black people the shortest month. I've heard that craziness. It was literally an ode or homage to the people who really were the sort of creators of it. And I know it annoys some people. That's, oh God, here we go, Black History Month, right? Like, here we go, another month. But here's how I want you to look at it. And I had this conversation recently with a colleague of mine who has a great home inspection company, and his family is literally, when I say literally, off the boat from Italy, like they are from Sicily, they're from Italy. They came over here, they spoke no English. I've made wine in their basement and stepped on grapes. So you get no more Italian than that. And I said to him, I said, let me ask you something. He asked me to be on a podcast that they're doing about Black history. And I said, if somebody were to say to you that you were not allowed, and I'm not talking about the Christopher Columbus controversy, let's just take that off the table. But in general, somebody said to you or made you feel bad for celebrating your Italian heritage, how would that make you feel? And he was like, what? Like, no way. Like, you know, I'm proud to be Italian. I'm proud to blah, 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 blah. And he went on and on. He was so passionate about it. And I said to him, exactly. Black History Month is really heritage. I'm not trying to go and jack the name up and because they made it history for a reason, but let's just interchange that H with the word heritage and call it Black Heritage Month, just for the purposes of this conversation. Why am I or Kimberly or anybody else of Black heritage any less entitled to be excited about, curious about, proud of, interested in our ancestral heritage and roots and learning about it so that we really know who we are at our core? Why should we not have the right to that like anybody else? Furthermore, why wouldn't I want to be excited about you learning about me, Sean? Right? Just as excited as I am when I learned about Italian, American history. When St. Patty's Day comes around, I get excited about that. When Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, Vietnamese people celebrate that. All sorts of people celebrate their heritage. But for some odd reason, when we say Black history, it makes people feel uncomfortable. So to answer your question, Black history should never go away. It is my heritage. It is our heritage. And the ugly part of it is not something that any Black person, asks for, but you can't know where you're going until you know where you really came from. Period. And I'm not looking for anybody to deny their heritage, and I don't expect them to deny me mine. So until the end of time, there should always be a Black History Month. And I hope someday they do change the word to heritage. And maybe that'll make people feel a little more comfortable. But frankly, I don't care if they're comfortable or uncomfortable, because I have a right to know about my roots. And I have diverse roots. All my ancestors weren't from Africa. I got a whole lot of European ancestors too. And I'm not any less interested in learning about my European heritage or the bit of Jewish heritage that I have, because it's all necessary and it's all important. And as far as BET is concerned, yes, BET was birthed, Black entertainment television, because MTV marginalized us and would not play music of rich and Black and ancestral roots and culture, right? But BET has a purpose and it's necessary. And it's not just about serving Black Americans or Black people. It's just good content, good music, good stories that everybody can appreciate. I'm not your good Black New Jersey broker. I'm just a good broker. And I just happen to be Black, right?
100%.
So I hope there is, maybe I'll start a petition on change.org. Let's change history to heritage, and let's all embrace it. How's that sound?
I was thinking it. As you were talking about it, I was like, oh, can we petition this? Because
Yes.
we can.
I'm going to do that. You gonna sign it?
100%.
Okay, done. Kimberly, can I count you in?
Gotcha.
Okay. But did that make any sense to you, or?
For me, 100%, yes.
Okay.
So how do you take that legacy building? I mean, you've talked about it some, but how do you take that into your work? Be it, obviously with social equity, that's legacy building within itself, because that's a movement that we're trying to make some changes in the corporate culture of KW and beyond, right? And the wealth building in particular is legacy building, because that directly impacts Black folks. But what other ways in your work are you legacy building in a way? And like you said, it's not just that you're doing it for blood, right? Or for your daughter, but also for, just general, for your community.
So the way that I'm taking it into my body of work and what I do in real estate, and I own a consulting business outside of real estate where I do, 5, 6, 7, 8-figure contract negotiations that are related to book deals, products, endorsements, speaking engagements, TV deals, and all sorts of things with my business partner, Layla Ali, who is, the Muhammad Ali legacy. The first thing I do is I try to show up as my best self, because I realize that I am a representation that people look like me and you. And oftentimes people get grouped into being a certain way based on other people's limited exposure to people like me or like you, right? So the first way that I can create a legacy is when I show up, and whatever I say out of my mouth and however, I interact with people, I try to be the best version of myself, because I realize that my legacy and my legend is going to be different than everybody else's. And whoever comes behind me, I'm kind of setting that bar. I try to, in my business, make sure that I never participate in a spirit of competition amongst other people. I really try to spread opportunities around so that other agents that look like me can realize that we are not in competition with each other. That's something that happens a lot within a lot of communities. And even as women, sometimes we just in general, we get pegged that way, but particularly in the Black community, that we have to unlearn a lot of things that we've either been taught or that we've believed about ourselves. Well, there can only be one Black person that can have a title, or there can only be one Black person that sits on a committee, or we can, so my legacy is being an example, walking my talk, being an example that shows that there's enough room for us at the top, and to bring people along with me when I have those opportunities, and God willing, they'll do the same for me and for other people. My legacy and my body of work is also, being transparent about my struggles, but also being transparent about my wins, and showing, not in a way like I'm bragging, but being comfortable sharing if I've either attained certain things, to show people you can do this too. And matter of fact, let me show you how I did it. Right now, let me just talk about it and dangle it in front of you. But this is how I became a real estate investor. This was my pathway to owning multiple properties, or this was my pathway to home ownership, or this is how I got into that neighborhood where I'm the only one or two people, not that I'm proud of that, in that particular neighborhood. So really, really what it is as much as possible, legacy building for me in the workplace is showing up a certain kind of way and realizing that I'm not only representing myself, I'm representing a whole bunch of other people, being intentional about trying to dispel myths and stereotypes about what it is to be, a Black person, a Black executive, a Black business owner, a Black person with a title or in power. Not, being on some kind of power trip, right? Because who cares? It could have today, it could be gone tomorrow. And also being confident enough to know that I have a seat at the table, trying to exude that confidence with, balance it out with humility, so that maybe the next person who is looking for an opportunity will glean something from that they saw in me or something I said, and whatever good I brought to the table, they will take that, right? And then they will build on it, be better than I was, and pay it forward. That's,
Yeah, and Sean, before you jump in, I just want to say that I think one of the themes that I'm hearing a lot from Amber is that it's not just about the person here that you're touching, but making sure that it goes beyond that next level, and that they are paying it forward, and that legacy is not just from here to here, right? It's from here to here to here, and keeps going down, and in perpetuity, really, so that your impact now really affects someone many, many years from now. Like we said, Frederick Douglass and other ancestors, what they did affects me today in 2022. And so I just want to point that out, because I think that's a central theme to what Amber's been talking about.
Yeah, you said that perfectly, Kimberly. And I just want to add one other thing. One thing I realized, and I want to just use this as an example, Sean, I don't want you to lose your train of thought. One thing I realized, for example, buying a house for many Black families or Black individuals is like an ends to a means, right? For so many years, on one side of my family, it was always, no, you don't want to buy a house because, what if you get foreclosed on? What if you can't pay? What if you lose your job? What if you this? What if you that? Right? But it's like, if you rent a house or you rent an apartment, you can be foreclosed on. The same thing can happen. It's actually harder to take somebody out of their house, right, than it is to take them out of their apartment. But it was never really taught on on one side of my family that buying a home is not just about putting a roof over your head. Like, be intentional about the other opportunity that buying a home affords you. You can take the equity out. You can pay for college. You can leverage that to buy other properties. You can take those properties and, fix them up just enough so they're suitable and rent them out. And then you can pull that equity out. You keep doing it, like that BRRR method. Again, in my culture, it was just like buying a house. It was just like it was a roof over your head. On the other side of my family, there was that sort of intentional, purpose-driven sort of thinking. So the more that I kind of like meditate on this and think about this stuff, I just say to myself, everything I do, even if you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it, close your ears. I got to give you a blueprint for it. I got to tell you why I'm doing it. I got to make sure that it's more than just on the surface, right? So you're not so casual about it. Think, oh, you're just buying a house. Like, oh, it's just a roof over your head. Oh, it's just something to do. No, you got to know the bigger play. You have to understand how other people from other heritages and other cultures are purposeful, you know, community economics, like they pull their monies together on purpose with a plan. They're not just winging it. And you got to make a commitment to me. If I give you this game, right? If I give you this free game, that you're not going to let it just reside with you. You're going to use it, you're going to apply it, and then you're going to pass it on to somebody else, and you're going to charge them to do the same. Wash, rinse, repeat, pass it on. Because that's what our ancestors did, Kimberly. They charged each other to not just worry about themselves and forget about everybody else. And they even risked their lives to do it. So, Sean, I didn't want to steal your thunder, but that was just a great opportunity for me to add that about intentionality.
I'm retired. You guys are so good. Like, I love your stream of thought. But let's stay with like wealth building, legacy building. And are there things that you're intentionally doing to help in the community to ensure, is it just that conversation that you're having, or is there more to it? Are you seeking other opportunities to help people go from renting to buying, go from buying to investing, and things like that? Like, is there something else intentional that you're doing out there? Because I feel like there's a lot that you've got going on, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to hear more.
So yeah, so the first thing I do is I start within my families, you know, to the extent that they will listen to me. I try to be very deliberate about checking in on people, checking on them first and foremost, make sure they're good through this COVID, but checking up on them, seeing if anybody has questions about, you know, credit, seeing, you know, if anybody is looking to move forward with buying or selling, not so I can get a sale, but I try to intentionally go to like my cousins and those family members I know that have been maybe renting for a while, or who have just sort of psychologically, you know, told themselves that this is not in the cards for them. And I start with my family. From there, I also go to a number of mentees. I have private mentees, not like a, you know, contractual mentor relationship, but people who I've been mentoring over the years, some of them since they were in high school. And I try to be very deliberate with them and kind of coaching them and really encouraging them on what to do, sharing my stories, answering questions for them, putting them in touch with my contacts and people that I have. I do it with all of my clients, but I really try to, you know, go to my clients that I see that have the need the most, the ones that are just kind of either on the fence. I've done things, you know, in terms of going into the Philadelphia prison system through a nonprofit initiative that I have, which is Noble Acts of Kindness. I'm working on my 501c3 status, but, you know, I've done something multiple years where I've gone into the juvenile detention center, talking to them, bringing celebrities with me sometimes. Year over year, I've taken, you know, Meek Mill, I've taken, you know, Escape, the ladies from Escape. I've taken, you know, just other celebrities from the show Empire and whatnot. And I brought them there to talk to them about staying on the straight and narrow, so that you can have your freedom. You can be out here, you can be a business owner, you can create your own legacy, the power that you have to change what your future looks like, no matter what your past looked like. And just really taking that message wherever it can be heard. I'm working to be more deliberate about leveraging social media to share more, because I can take that one-to-many approach And again, just being the face of and sharing more of the things I do behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff I do I don't even talk about. But what I realize is that I have to get, I'm a little uncomfortable. I don't like really being, in the front, but I have to just get comfortable with that because I've experienced so much in my, 46 plus years that I can't just let this die with me. I have to continue to proliferate by any means necessary, to just get it out there so that, if God called me home, hopefully he won't call me home for a long time.
Yeah,
But
take his time.
whenever he calls me home, you know, I can feel like I was a good and faithful servant.
So, and I know that you're also an author, and we didn't touch on that at all.
Yep.
Have you gone into any of the wealth building, like getting beyond renting, going into have you tackled any of this topic in any of your books?
I have not as much as I intend to going forward. My next book is just completely me, my thoughts. I've helped other people write their books, and I don't want to get into all of that. And then I've also been in, anthologies where I was one of many, successful entrepreneurs, people who had less success than me, my level of success, and way more success than myself. I wrote a co-authored a book with Jack Canfield, who was the architect for the Chicken Soup for the Soul brand, which many people are familiar with. And he sold 500 million copies and counting, for he cashed out on his brand and sold it and got a residual. So that was really exciting. I told my story, but my story is always developing. It's like breaking news. I'm not exactly who I was 2 years ago. I'm not who I was a year ago. And God willing, I won't be in the same place a year from now. But my next book, which I've been working on for a while, is going to talk about many things, but at the core of it, it is really about what we're talking about now, which is, how to level up no matter where you started in life. It's not where you started, it's how you finish. And really the power that each of us has to determine where we go, no matter who tries to come up against you, no matter how inequitable this world may be. Regardless if you have to constantly, I've been working 2 to 10 times harder than most people my whole life. And I think a lot of times people in my community, like we're just used to it. We just get so used to everything, or not everything, but most things being hard, that you kind of normalize that. So I'm also in my next book going to talk about like normalizing not having to work so hard, because it does cause things like stress and high blood pressure and, other comorbidities that you don't want.
And relationships.
All of that. Many of us, I don't think that's just a Black thing. I think many of us are led to believe, oh, you got to go hard. You got to work hard. And I'm trying to work smart, like for real, for real. I really want to get more and do less. So that leverage we were talking about, and we all know finding great assistants, right, is like, some of the
needle in a haystack.
Yes, it's the hardest thing. And they can say, oh, call this consulting company. Oh, go on Indeed. Oh, disc them, KPA them. Like it sounds cute. But I'm going to follow, take my own advice. And I am going to find the right people that I need, because I really, really want to do the things where I need to specifically show up, and really give the most of myself to help as many people as possible. That's what I really want to do.
Sorry,
Sean.
After you.
Okay. So I have one last question, but I want to first ask if anyone else has questions, because after Amber answers that question, I think Sean's going to get into his normal 5 questions at the end. So does anyone else have any questions that they want to ask Amber? No, all good.
The only thing, I mean, that I was thinking of as you were speaking was just touching on maybe the best way that we can support you, as you support other people.
Thank you. Is it Cassie?
Casey.
Casey, thank you so much for that question. So the best way you can support me, one, is giving me grace. Grace is something that I think we need to give and we need to get. And grace is really patience. The work that we have to do is, and that we've taken on, it is not something that happens overnight. There's so many different layers and so many nuances to the social equity piece of it. That, I mean, we can't be as productive as we want to be and be, these huge go-getters and then save the world all at the same time. So I would say extending grace, knowing that we're really trying to do the best we can, as quickly as we can. And then also, those, whenever you see opportunities to volunteer, be an ally, just be a support. If you think somebody is a good fit for something, somebody is mission focused and has a good heart, check people's heart before you refer them. I would say that's how you can help me, certainly in the work that I'm trying to do. I would also say, if you've had good experiences with agents, think broader when you give out like opportunities, referral opportunities, or opportunities to nominate somebody. Just be intentional, Casey, and really create that equitable level playing field that we're talking about. And really, you judge people by their merits, but also encourage, like, be brave and be bold. And don't be afraid to say, hey, look, so-and-so is really the best person. If you find somebody that's just like, well, they can't do it because so-and-so, or they can't do it because, all they know how to do is X, Y, and Z. Be that person. Like I've seen other people in our two family of brokerages be like, nah, well, this person's really the best person. I don't care what you think. I've seen somebody, and I'm gonna leave them nameless, super high up, do it so much to the point where the air in the room left with a gasp, because there was an opportunity for someone and they intentionally overlooked that person because that person didn't look like them, but they were really the best person. So wherever you can be the change that we say we want to see, be bold, be brave, have grace, step out, step up, speak up. If you see something, say something.
That in itself
Thank
is
you.
legacy building for Casey, honestly, because if she's that and she models that for other people and other people catch on to that, yeah, that would be her legacy. Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you. And yeah, that's like something that's important to me too, is helping other people also that look like me know how to do that too, and think in that way, because I feel like it's not necessarily taught to us. So yeah, I appreciate this class today a lot. So,
and to Kimberly's point, and thank you, Casey, to Kimberly's point, she made a great point. That becomes your legacy, because we're talking about what my legacy is, but the question is, what is everybody else's legacy? Like, what can you do that you don't have to write a check for, pull a credit card out for, right? Cash App or Venmo somebody for. It's just something as simple as advocacy. We call it allyship, but what it really is, because some people don't like the word ally, like I said, I don't want that title. You're advocating, co-signing, right? For what is really right or wrong. That right there can change the trajectory of a whole lot of lives. Because it's not just about what I do. If I don't sell another house, if I don't sit on another Zoom call, I'm gonna figure something out, right? I'm okay. But it's about the Ambers and the Kimberlys that come after me. It's about the Caseys and the Shawns and the Laurens and the Sids. Like, What are they being taught? Are they only believing what they see as a snapshot on the news talking about the murder count in Philly, you know? Or do they understand that that's a snapshot, right? That's not the whole picture.
Every
So
time I get a buyer from Jersey that says, I'm not going into Philly, I'm like, you're nuts.
Right.
Sorry. Just I'm like, Philly's,
Yeah,
yeah.
that happens a lot.
I'm out of your mind. I don't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. But Casey, you can build your own legacy, and your legacy may have many layers, but that right there, 100 years from now, when they have your obituary and they're like, what did Casey do good in her life? What was Casey about? What do
Yeah,
you want
I
to say?
appreciate that. Yeah, because I want to teach like my future children to be better people than, and even my aunt, like my father and my mother, and there's conversations that I can be having with them to try to better them too. So I appreciate you guys talking today.
Goodness, that was totally unexpected, but I got a little bit of chill when you said that, because that is not the norm, Casey, to be honest with you. And taking that on is such a huge thing. It's not necessarily a hard thing to do, but it's such a huge thing in advocacy work. So thank you so much for sharing that. Amber, can you give me one sneak peek into one thing that's happening nationally on the Wealth Building Committee?
Yes, one sneak peek of what's happening on the Wealth Building Committee is we have a goal, and we're going to achieve this goal of creating a specific number of Black millionaires within Keller Williams, agents who are Black heritage, who are millionaires, who may or may not have otherwise been on that trajectory. That's our goal.
Awesome.
Over a set period of time. And you're going to hear and learn more about that.
Great.
We want to hear the number, and we want a 1.5 exit. Or let's 2 exit. We'll hear the number when it's announced.
See, Sean, here you go. You're trying to, that's what, you're trying to dictate. You're going to tell everybody what they're going to do.
We're going to go big.
What we're going to do is we're going to get them there, and we're going to remove there's a lot of trauma that comes too with, and just growing up a certain kind of way. Sometimes there's a lot of hidden trauma. The way we look at money, the things we're told, we have to unlearn a lot of things in our community, as I'm sure Kimberly can probably attest to. And again, that's not to say we're a monolith, because we're not, but there's a lot of unlearning. There's a lot of being able to figure out who you can trust and who you can't trust, and not just like I don't want to be stigmatized, right? I don't want to look at every person that's not from our culture and be like, oh, because she's from the purple people, she's a certain way. So all purple people are like that. Oh, she's the polka dot, heritage, that's what she is. So there's a lot more beyond the surface. And that's part of the legacy too, is just learning, unlearning, releasing trauma that's been passed on generation to generation, and just eventually, God willing, finally get to a place where, when I say the play is level, it's like so equalized that we could just be the human race. Like for real, not like how they kind of joke about it or make it sound cute, but like for real. So Sean, what's up with these 5 questions? I'm not getting the Sean treatment?
One was actually stolen early, so I replaced it with a new one. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
If I could go back and give my 18-year-old self one piece of advice, would it be? It would be, do not sign up for all those credit cards with those stupid tchotchkes and dumb free gifts that you do not use, that they try to get you to sign up for outside of New Res and the cafeteria at Temple.
They really did that to you? Okay.
What
That's crazy.
college
Wait,
campus?
wait, you
Head
didn't
on.
get that? You didn't get that treatment? Because they had it.
I can fully relate to that.
I was
They
a
would knock
chef.
on our dorm room doors and give out free t-shirts.
Nope.
umbrellas, t-shirts, whatever they thought. And you thought it was great. Oh my gosh, I got an umbrella.
Yep.
That's sick.
Stupid umbrella. That's
I was
somebody.
I was a chef. I went to the restaurant school at Walnut Hill College in West Philly.
Uh,
There was none of that there. They were like, we know these guys are poor. Forget it.
that would be my advice. Do not do that. Don't screw up your credit. The overall arching theme is don't screw up your credit early. And don't, no matter under no circumstances, don't go buy anything from Fingerhut. Because even though they give it to you without checking your credit, they will find you, hunt you down for years, and it's a bunch of junk. Next
All
question.
right. No scams. Got it. What podcast would you recommend to anybody and everybody? Or what are you listening to right now that you love?
Oh gosh. I just re-upped my subscription to Audible. So I'm actually focusing on audiobooks.
Good. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, but no, I literally just did that. And I want to listen to some books that I've read, but I want to hear them, right? So I can kind of process it a little bit differently. Everything Your Leisure is like the biggest Black financial Finlit, podcast. I would say EYL. It's amazing. It's one of the top podcasts in the world. EYL, and it's these two guys, and they have basically created like these micro podcasts of all these Black entrepreneurs that are crushing it in all types of areas, from real estate to finance to doing digital products to selling courses to Forex to day trading to you name it, NFTs, all of that. So EYL, I would say Everything Your Leisure.
Earn Your Leisure.
Earn Your Leisure. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I say Everything Your Leisure. Earn Your Leisure. Thank you, Kimberly.
And that makes sense.
Yep.
But unfortunately, you started to touch on it. If you could recommend a book to anybody and everybody, you can promote your own. We're not going to hate on that.
No. I don't want to recommend my book. I would say one of the books I wrote is Mastering the Arts of Success. And if anybody wants it, if you watch this, I will send you a ebook complimentary. So just shoot me an email, Amber at Amber the Real Estate Expert, and say Mastering the Art of Success with Jack Canfield, Amber Noble, and a whole bunch of other experts. And I'll be happy to give that to you gratis. But I would say one book right now, Atomic Habits.
It's a good one. Hasn't been mentioned on here before.
Yeah, I could think of a few of them, but definitely that's the page I'm on right now. Finish What You Start too. It's a bonus one.
I think that everybody can read that one.
And that one's like this big. It's like a little pocket size type situation. So I've read that on a plane like 1.5 times.
Nice. So normally I would say, what does leaving a legacy mean to you? But we covered that. What is the next ceiling you're going to break through?
The next ceiling I'm going to break through.
You got a few under your belt.
I want ownership. That's a ceiling I want to break through. I don't need the whole pie, right? But I'm about having some equity in whatever it is I do. So, anything that we put our time and our talents to, and I'm also about earning my keep, right? I probably might got free lunch once, but I'm really about earning my keep. So any endeavors, and I have a bunch of them, is my next ceiling is just about really having a piece of ownership on whatever I do. That's the next ceiling. That's the ceiling we should all aspire to.
I love it's all ladies on here.
Of course, that's what we do.
Well, thank you so much. And that was your last question, right, Sean?
That was my last question.
Okay. Thank
Amber.
you so much, Amber, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking out the time to talk to us, to give us some great perspective and knowledge and things we can take back to our individual lives and businesses. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Kimberly. I appreciate you, Sean, and I appreciate everybody that's on this podcast and anybody that sees this afterward. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and thinking enough of me to think I even had anything worthy to say, and pay it forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just as a quick plug and reminder, we have a Black History Month program coming up on Friday at 11 a.m. with a special lunch afterwards, and we hope that folks can join us. If you didn't
Okay.
RSVP, please RSVP so we have a somewhat head count for the food.
Is it in person only?
No, we can Zoom it because
Okay.
it's in the training room. Thank you for that, because I didn't even think about that. So I'll make
'Cause
sure that.
I went to RSVP and I'm like, I can't be there. I want to do it. All right. Sorry. Anyway,
Thank you. I'll make sure that's set up.
thanks, Amber.
Kimberly and Sean, can I say one quick thing before we roll out?
Sure.
Just reminded me of something. So there is something for KW Philly and our Jersey associates. There's a project that's actually my baby that has nothing to do with real estate, but I wanted to bring to the table for the KW Philly office. And it's called The Road Travel. The Road Travel is a series of conversations that I have had with some interesting people, and I decided to start to bring them to the surface so they're not just private conversations. And essentially, the road traveled is just really what route people took and all that they had to go to get to where they are today. And these people are people who have done some really extraordinary things. So I'm bringing the road travel right at the end of Black History Month, a series, the Black History Month, Black Heritage Month version for KW Philly. And it's a series of conversations, quick convos that I've had with some people who are realtors in KW around the world who have created some extraordinary success for themselves that other people who are from my community can look at them and say, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. But their stories are just extraordinary, period, not just because they're Black, right? So just be on the lookout for that. That's going to be probably the last day of the month. And because there was just a bunch of conversation to have, but these conversations are going to blow you away. So the road traveled, be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. So we'll look out for that for Monday, the 28th, last day of the month.
Yep.
Thank you. Everybody have a good rest of your
Thank you.
day. Thank you for joining us and be productive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.